Hello, friends. How's everybody doing today? We're back on the Comfy Town Hall here with Machine Delusions and Julian Durand, the Midjourney Man, ex-Midjourney Man. Used to be Midjourney Man. Now he's Julian AI Art. Do you see that name? That's him. He changed his name. So yeah.
MJM, that works still too.
Yeah, MJM. I'll never stop calling you MJ. That's just oh, there's POM.
Yeah,
Hey,
I talked to him.
The stream.
Easier.
There he is.
He thought he was an hour later. By the way, he just said
All good. This the stream is chaos. We have a very special guest today, our friend Peter O'Malley. Please say hi. I know you're just getting down to your chair. You're just meeting us from dinner with friends. Yeah, Peter's been instrumental in the open source scene, and we're really excited to talk to him today. But yeah, I'll let you introduce yourself, man.
Hey, so yeah, I'm Peter, also known as POM, which is actually what people call me in the real world. But then I always hated it because of for various reasons, but I just decided to own it.
Yeah.
I basically just kind of got into AI art around 3 years ago, and just got really obsessed with open source in particular, and just decided to try to spend as much of my life trying to do stuff for the open source kind of community and movement. And here I am.
Yeah, man. Well, it's great to have you here. And I mean, you can ask Phil, you can ask MJ. We all spend an awful lot of time on Banodoco, and I talk about Banodoco all the time on the stream. But why don't you tell us in your words what Banodoco is?
Yeah, well, kind of where it came from is I really liked the Stable Diffusion subreddit back in the day, but obviously it was like I liked like 10% of it, and the rest of the 90% was like weird porn and stuff, or just jiggly girls and shit.
Yeah.
And obviously, nothing against that stuff, but there's obviously more to open source than just that. And what I wanted to do with
it does get overwhelming, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to basically just like capture that whole like the stuff that I thought was like really, really good about the Stable Diffusion subreddit, and try to basically build a culture that kind of reinforces those kind of values, which is just kind of obviously like people who are doing interesting stuff technically, but not just there's lots of people who spend months building repos that for their own sake that do nothing, but people who actually care about like the application for artistic purposes, and then for the actual art that results from that, to try to create a place that has those kind of values, and where people care about those kind of things, and that is kind of like just a place I want to hang out all the time, And I come from I'm Irish, as you guys know, and I come from a pub, and my family runs a pub, and we've run a pub for like over 100 years. And I basically wanted to kind of like recreate the kind of welcoming social vibe of a pub, but focus on Irish pub, but focused on the whole thing that I care about most in the world, which is AI art, basically. So yeah.
Man, after all these years, I've never asked you where it came from. It's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it worked. That community is thriving. I mean, that's where we all go to learn all the new stuff. And honestly, that's where Kajai builds in the open. So, if you want to watch somebody just like, if you want to watch how somebody can just sort of, ingest these models and like fully explore them, just watch Kajai on Banodoco. It's fascinating. But the community in general, there's workflows there. There's art sharing there. There's, everyone's there. Help channels, very specific rabbit holes, for each thing. So you can really, if someone says to you, "Oh, I used CosVid and one, and I ran it through this and I did that," and you don't know what any of that means. If you go to Banodoco, there's probably a channel for each one of those things, and you can go to each channel and sort of contextually figure out what everyone's doing with these things, and back and forth. It's amazing. So yeah. Thanks, man. I mean, just on behalf of the community, it's a really cool place to hang out.
No worries.
Yeah, Phil and MJ, what's your experience with Banodoco been?
I mean, to sum up everything you said, double down. It is like the town hall of open source in regards of like stuff drops day one. Stuff has not even dropped yet. Papers being shared, open weights being shared. There needs to be. I've said many times on streams that there's too many things to look at now, and it really does require all of us to get our hands on the models that we find interesting or workflows that we think could be pushed further. And when you make those innovations, usually they are publicly shared, and the excitement is shared on places like Banodoco being one of the main ones, where people can just pick up where someone left off and keep running with it. And I feel like I wake up every morning and I do my like daily scroll, and like there's like 4 new things that the community has discovered. I'm like, oh my god, like I'm behind now.
Yeah, I think in a way it's like for me, I kind of really I care a lot about it, and I kind of tag my whole mood to what's going on in the ecosystem. So like it's like my brother is really into like football or soccer, and when his team loses by United, he's like really depressed. And in a way, that's kind of a little bit how I feel about just the whole open source thing. But then like I think like right now, for example, is a very exciting time, and like for example with Base, every day I wake up and someone has figured out something like really cool that does, and that's just like, it's really, when it's good, it's really good, but it's almost like a drug that when it's like, when the lows are low and the highs are high, and I think it's kind of reflected in the whole, vibe and atmosphere. But
Yeah, I also think it's accelerating quickly too. So you get you get more dopamine faster as more people join the fold and start building out in the open like that. It's really good. And like Julian, what's been your experience?
I think it's been like kind of a way to get free stickers from Jero. That's my experience.
Right. Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, it's been like an inspiration because first of all, you see like the work of others, and then they tell you what they use, and those tools that they use are right there on the server, so you can actually try yourself. And yeah, it's been very inspiring, and also very also good to make connections. I know like I reached out to Kijai from Banodoco, and he helped me with a problem with one of the nodes, and so yeah, it's really cool. It's very
shout out to Jero as well, who designed the logo, and I got a photo from someone's because it's like done in this 3D, infinite 3D way where it doesn't really make sense. And someone sent me a video of their child's trying to explain it, and they're just like, "But it's 3D, but it's not," and it goes around. But it's like it's such a nice logo, and it's like I love it.
That's awesome. I'm just going to drop the URL for everybody there. If you do want to go to the URL, join the Discord. You can lurk. Nobody's going to make you talk. You want to just come and hang out and watch, please do. A lot of people use it as secondary or even primary source of, like Reddit style news. I want to just dip in, see what's going on in the community, and dip out. So yeah, feel free to use it in that way too. But we love having you talk there too. So please, and share your art.
Art sharing.
There's an art sharing channel, and then like a generations sharing channel. So if you're just making gens and they're cool, you want to share them, throw them in there. But if you're making something cool like art, drop it in the art share, and everyone there is really supportive, and you'll get some love, and it's reciprocal. Enjoy it. But yeah, we mostly today wanted to talk about sort of the history of AI animation, because all of us here are pretty obsessed with AI animation, open source AI animation, and the history of that. And I know you're become quite a historian on this because you've been watching it the whole time. So I just wanted to get your take on sort of how things developed and where they're headed, and like how you feel about closed source versus open source and that sort of thing. And I know you're also, I wanted you to have a chance to talk about Open Muse as well, because that's really cool too. So yeah, feel free to just go off, and we're just going to listen, buddy.
No, I think because I actually kind of was never really too interested in like deform or warp fusion or any of this stuff, even though I really appreciated them after the fact, because the whole reason I kind of got into this whole thing was to basically, I had like one specific video I wanted to make, and I kind of just ignored everything that couldn't help me make that, and I kind of like I didn't really pay attention. I was kind of like doing my own thing with like just using Google Film mostly to animate stuff with Stable Diffusion, like by myself. That was like the only person like in the world, as far as I know, who did this. And then never even shared the code with anyone. But then I kind of like, I think I got to be kind of, I started to really like go along with the community around the animate diff time. And then after that, I kind of just like, became a historian, I guess, as you say.
Yeah.
Like a lot of this stuff from the Warp Fusion and Deform days, and like an appreciation of that, even though it obviously like I actually, and even before that with like, what was the one before that called? I can't remember. There was another one that a lot of people use that. Yeah, but anyway, but
like Disco Diffusion.
Yeah, Disco
like
Diffusion.
Yeah.
But maybe because I've been basically going back through a lot of the archives of like lots of the art that people make, and like one thing I was thinking a lot about, I think as I mentioned, was the whole the IP adapter masking thing. And I think that was like this thing that basically because it was such an interesting example, because masking IP adapter was like this thing that basically wasn't possible in any tool until Comfy. I think Matteo built it, and then there was a really interesting arc of it where maybe I'll just show some examples if I can do a screen share, because
yeah, you sure can. Yeah, we'll add you to the thing.
Cool. Hopefully there's no. Can you see my screen?
If you share it, I'll be able to pull you in. Yep, add to scene. There we go.
Yeah, because what I was looking at in particular was this is actually just something that Kajai did like a really, really long time ago, and you can kind of like see just like this was like the coolest thing in the world back then, but it's obviously now it's pretty crude. And this was basically with it was like a really early implementation of the kind of like masking idea. It's still pretty cool. And I think a lot of like, stuff like this, if you upscale this, especially if you did something with like base, and you basically kind of like, or even if you used the context from BFL to like upscale each of the frames and then went through them, like this would look epic in 4D, but like it's obviously a little bit like jerky and scrappy now. But it's like a fundamentally really cool video. But he was like,
very cool.
I think Matteo added this to the IP adapter nodes in Comfy, but I don't think anyone had actually done anything with it. And I think part of it was because actually creating masks was a real pain back then, because I think when you made your thing, I think you went into you built a lot of masks in Blender, or was it some of the After Effects?
No, yeah, Blender, shaders in Blender, yeah.
Yeah, but I think most people just didn't want to do that. I think Kajai basically built these nodes for basically just making like circles and stuff, and simple ways to do it. I think as far as I'm aware, he was like the first person to do kind of like this masking thing, but it was obviously really, really crude back then. But the thing I was looking at is just like how interesting it is to see how that all evolved over time, and going to the other end of the spectrum, there's this is like this really refined version of the same idea that I think was basically probably made on top of the stuff that you built, and probably actually like directly inspired by the context smashing thing. And this is by I don't know if you know Nick, but this is just like a really, really refined version of the same idea, and if you
that's awesome.
And there's music that goes with this, and he kind of like made the whole thing work really, really well. But it's like it's fundamentally the same idea, and the amazing thing is that he's actually using almost all the same technology, So it's like literally just IP adapter, it's literally just animate diff, it's literally just Stable Diffusion 1.5, but it's like all the approaches have been like really refined. Like he's probably using this kind of I think probably like a really nice balance of like QR code monster and like IP adapter with tiling. You probably just figured out how to like get all the masks working really well based on the stuff you've done, and the product of that is basically that the whole video, like that looks like something if you saw that on stage at a concert, like that would be
it'd be perfect. You wouldn't even blink. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that what I've been kind of like doing in this thread has just been like going through all these examples of this, and it's kind of like, you know, just out of that seed of an idea, like that was obviously built on top of it, that you can like mask IP adapter, which is obviously this thing that these random dudes in China built, you know, and probably had no idea of all the stuff it would do if you layered on that animation thing. There was obviously just like so many different applications of that, you know.
Yeah, they're just showing you could like mask attention. That's like literally, you know, and
Yeah, I mean,
bam.
I exclusively use this technique. It's still to this day one of my favorite tools and systems I've built because it's just so much fun, like ignoring prompting, having image as influence, but then, you know, with the masking, you now have multiple images as, you know, influence. And then, of course, the outcome being a video. It's just like dopamine on dopamine when I'm playing with this system, you know?
Yeah.
And so you made almost every element of it. Even when you've trained the LoRa's, you've made the masks, you made sure the animation worked, you built the workflow, you know, and now you're just plumbing the depths of the models for cool stuff, you know.
And yeah, the very first time I've ever gone viral on Instagram was using that this method of you know, you have QR monster and like masking.
Oh,
and, weight transfer. It was really cool.
Yeah,
It was like morphing on steroid. Really didn't make sense.
And I think what Phil said there was that I think I can't remember where. Yeah, but these were a few examples of stuff that people did with it. But I think that the fact this was like, I don't know who this was by, Swervas, I think. Yeah, and then Jero, that I think was because you had to like make a lot of decisions when you're doing it, that it kind of like a lot of the stuff made with it had a lot of like this feeling like, oh, this is like, even this, which is kind of like a little bit random or something, it feels like this person is doing this for a reason, you know. It feels something about it feels a lot more intentional, you know, whereas when you do text to video, you get like 120 frames and you have like, you know, skull with you know, whatever this would be, water splashing from it. It's something about the fact that it like it feels like there was a dude here who was like trying to make something a certain way, you know, for a specific reason, like a lot of Phil stuff, you know, like I shared another thing from Phil there, that it feels like you can almost like just tell that the amount of fucks that went into it when you look at it, you know.
Oh yeah, I remember this one. This was a fun challenge J-Ru put up. I believe this is the challenge, yeah?
No, this actually isn't the challenge. This was set. I have a bunch of ones from the challenge there. Some of them saved in my computer somewhere. I'm going to share it. But yeah, this is actually just Swervas. I don't think he's still around, but he did a lot of like cool stuff with that.
Yeah, it's super nice. Yeah, and for anyone who doesn't understand what they're looking at right now, basically, my best guess from looking at this is there's probably a depth map of the skull in the middle holding down the composition. And then there's like, it looks like 3 different masks that are essentially coming out from the center, probably like a circle, elliptical shape, right? And they're zooming continuously in from nothing. And each one of those masks has a different set of conditioning. In this case, very subtle, you know, maybe just a color change in a prompt, as simple as that. But then what you get is this really nice, like evolving, beautiful, liquidy kind of style.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to dig in and find the one that I'm talking about.
Yeah, what I've been thinking a lot about was that basically that just the fundamental like motion of I've been like playing a lot with face, but I've been like just constantly annoyed that the motion is just like a little bit stiff or something, you know, and the whole thing just doesn't look as vibrant. And you can use masking, but it just doesn't react as nicely. And I've been thinking a lot about like why, you know, Animate Diff is like a underlying render engine, and then if you can upscale it to make it look, you know, HD and shit, you know, with these newer models, and to smooth out the motion, it feels like that's like you know, you'll be able to get stuff that like you won't get from VO 7, you know, because it's just so weird and just so unusual compared to like the average distribution.
This is yeah, go ahead, MJ. Yeah, exactly. This was a great example of that.
Yes, this kind of technique where it just goes from scene to scene to scene. Oh, these were the good old days. I miss these techniques.
Yeah.
And it still looks really good, man.
The thing is, these techniques are still around too. Like you know.
Oh yeah, I have the workflow right here on my computer.
Yeah,
I have no excuse. I have to bring it back.
Yeah.
If you want to learn how to, do this stuff, I've got a ton of tutorials on this kind of stuff. Making the masks yourself is kind of the hardest part, but it's actually one of the more fulfilling parts. So, if you're even remotely interested in learning shaders or like After Effects or Blender or anything like that, there's a million ways to make these masks. Touch Designer, even the free version, the 1280 by 1280 is plenty to make like looping shaders. So like, you can make these masks in all kinds of free software. So don't feel like, you have to have like Cinema 4D and a $2,000 render engine or anything. It's just colors.
Yeah. POM touched on a really interesting point there. And this is something I've personally thought a lot about. As these video models, and I mean, every model gets better, there's this like quality that we lose that we kind of like enjoyed from the models being jank,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Animate Diff is a perfect example for that, because it was jank, but it was like what's the word? It had charm. It wasn't like super weird, but it had charm, right? And as the models get more and more coherent and like just performative, that charm goes away and we strive more towards like more of a surrealistic, like it's realism but not, whereas Animate Diff was like, oh, this is abstract, like we are down the hole now,
Yeah. And I was thinking that I don't know if you've seen anything from Veo 3, but everything from Veo 3 is, I guess you have, but it's all the same thing, where it's like this surreal, world where people are speaking about something and it's like, oh, we're in this other world, blah blah blah, blah. And it's like, I don't know, it's I think it's like, whereas the stuff from Animate Diff was obviously really broad, and it's like, I think it's because it was like janky. It wasn't trying to be something. Whereas like Veo 3 can't be Hollywood because it's not quite there, but it can be these candid interviews of people in the streets, because you just need like 7 seconds of weird people talking. And I think it's just like not being able to be something forces you to be something else, and I think that's like, it's really interesting.
Creating in a box is always more satisfying. The result is always more satisfying when you restrict yourself creatively. And like, honestly, I love the way shifting context windows look in Animate Diff.
So
nothing else quite looks like that. Nothing else behaves quite like that. And then when you figure out how to really play with that, you can get some absolutely mind-bending stuff going that you just never gonna. You're right; it's never gonna happen in one of the closed source realistic video models that's shooting for social media or Hollywood type stuff. But that's what's so cool about this ecosystem is like. I can use Comfy, I can play with Animate Diff, but if Julian wants to throw Kling in there, I mean, we can just wire everything together. You could make a workflow that makes diff runs and then video to videos them with Runway or something. Like, it's not about it's not about us or them, us versus them. It's really about, what do you want to do? What do you have the GPU to do locally? Do you even care? Do you want to buy a gaming PC just to be able to slug it out with the rest of us, or do you want to choose the API, different API keys, whatever, to just use cloud services or spin up Comfy on the cloud? Like the options are limitless. I love it.
Yeah, and even in a way, like with Veo 3, like if something comes out weird, there's very little of you in that, whereas I was looking at this video I made like a year ago, and like you can see there's like this glitch, there's a bunch of these like weird glitches here, and that's because I like dial, and you can see it's like the color is saturated from it, and it's because I just didn't understand that you should just run, I think it was Control Net Tile on early steps, otherwise it kind of saturates the color. And so I basically, the whole video has this like milky feel to it, and it's objectively shit. It's not gonna, like, if you played that on stage, you'd be like booed off. But I think because it's like there's a lot of like me in it, even the flaws, and like me not really understanding the technology, and me trying to be too ambitious about what I was making, and therefore kind of like fucking up, But it's like it's definitely me. Whereas I think that's like the thing, you kind of, if the model is so good, you lose that part of like, even your own fuck ups, doing it. Even if you're limited to like an 8 gigabyte GPU, there's a lot you can do with 8 gigabytes. And even if you can only render 1 5-second video an hour, that's like, it's an interesting constraint that will force it to be your own thing,
Yeah, absolutely.
And just wanted to show on my screen what I'm sharing now is an example of a hybrid workflow that Phil, you helped me with to compose it here in Comfy directly. This is all made in Comfy, using OpenAI to make the image, and using OpenAI to make this outside image, OpenAI to make this inside image that I use to diff, and that I composited inside a green screen here, and all in Comfy. So fully made in Comfy.
Nice.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, it's so fun. Yeah, animate diff is special. And to Purs's point as well, I know it's like really tempting to want to go play with like the latest, the greatest, most powerful model. And like, yes, it is awesome and cutting edge. But man, there is so much creative exploration in models that are 5 years old that nobody touches anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We haven't even plumbed the depths of warp yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, getting your hands on anything and playing with it in Comfy is awesome.
Yeah, don't wait.
Did you guys see this thing from what's he called? It's Poidman Ghosts today. Let me just try to find this for you. There it is. But he basically got whatever you call them. What's it called again? Fucking disco diffusion things, and then put them through whatever you call it, context, and it's basically like and upscaling them, and it's just like I don't even know what words you would use to prompt this. I think it would be kind of like impossible to actually like even describe what this looks like, because it ends up in such a surreal place, that it's like this is the disco diffusion, and then this is what it looks like, that this is just like, how would you describe that? Like, I don't know. I don't even
try. Yes, I just saw these earlier. That's so crazy.
That's just like I don't know how to describe that, but it's like that's a whole other layer of exploration that it's like
taking outputs you could never make without this one janky tech and then running them through something else. And this looks bad because this model just doesn't even know what a face looks like or a body, and it kind of constructs things based on this, and it ends up with like, when you upscale that into like something that's more coherent to understand, it ends up with this thing that's just like impossible to describe, basically, and I think that's it's so interesting.
Yeah, disco diffusion was a totally different monster, man. Like, if you could get a face to look like a face in disco, you hit the jackpot. It was a hard model to work with, but again, that jank, that charm we're talking about.
Yeah.
Amazing. So let's talk about OpenMuse a little bit. What's the deal with OpenMuse? What's going on with OpenMuse?
Yeah, well, basically, let me find it. Hopefully there's nothing weird in my browser. Nope, we're good. Basically, like kind of what I was trying to do with it is that I think in the Banodoco server, I think has like a great culture, but it's obviously like constrained by being a Discord server. And like what I want to do is to like slowly kind of like grow it to the web. And you can see Phil here and Chris, who is sometimes in your stream and some stuff, and basically try to have a kind of place for resources and art that's kind of like basically feels like an extension of the Banodoco community. And essentially that it doesn't allow porn, because I think porn is one of these things that I think it's like, I have no issue with it, but I think when porn becomes possible, it's like for some reason this community just takes over everything. And I think
it's kind of insidious. It just sort of does like sort of leech into everything. But there are sites for that, so have fun.
And again, I have no issue with that, but it's like, that's, to me, it's like, it would be such a shame if all people do with this stuff is generate porn, because it can be so much more. And and I think basically, building something like this is like what I'm trying to do is to kind of like, you probably, if you hang out the Discord, you probably recognize most of these people's names. And like what I'm basically trying to do is that like when people in the community just kind of like share stuff, to kind of like slowly move it to here, and then eventually have like a place that it has like, I think it's probably like maybe close to there, has like enough resources that it's kind of like interesting to browse in and of itself, and it kind of grows from the community, and then over time just becomes a place that's just like, for example, like when your art is featured here, you feel good about that, and Laura is here, you feel good about that, and then people who are interested in this whole side of the community, which I think probably still actually a relatively small, like if you think about the percentage of people who are making art versus making porn, it's probably like 95% porn, to 5% art. So it's probably like, in a way where it's like a small minority. But that for those kind of people, this is just the place that they want to be in. They feel really good about their stuff being featured there, and they basically, feel good about their art being featured. And people who are interested in that kind of art for that kind of reason, want to visit here, and they want to be basically featured here. So it's basically like a long-term project, and there's obviously some bugs and stuff in it that it's pretty good now, but I'm still trying to figure out. This is like my first web app I ever made, and I like,
it's tough. No, you did a great job so far. This is great.
Yeah, but trying to, for anyone else who's considering it, it's like trying to do a video, multimedia website as your first project is like a terrible idea,
Yeah.
There's a lot of crushing stuff that comes to it.
No doubt. Yeah. Yeah, I've been down this. I've been about 40% down this road, and then I gave up like 7 times. So I feel it. I feel it.
Yeah, I think it's important to have a spot where things are archived properly, and given the chance to see the light of day. It is a flaw of the fact that Banodoco is on Discord as a platform, having it be this kind of forum-esque thing where if you're off of Discord for a week, like 1,000 messages fly by, and now you're not compelled to go back and dig through a running conversation when really you just wanted like one sentence of information out of that. So I think having something like this is needed, really.
Yeah, and one thing I'm doing is I actually am scraping every message to Discord, and I kind of have this thing I've been testing where, like on this the developer version of this website, where it has like a summary of absolutely everything that's happened, and you'll be able to like ask it like ChatGPT, but for open source AI kind of idea. And I think because I think it's like, as the open community, our strength is in just like, these random nerds who just go down weird rabbit holes and discover, this out of distribution knowledge. And I think the more that can become accessible to the next nerd, they who's kind of going down that path, they can kind of build on each other's shoulders, and I think it's a question of just like how to, use AI and LLMs to basically make it so that when you need that knowledge of like, oh, why is my mask at the edge? Oh, you need to use like a depth mask behind it and feather the edges. And it's like, oh, great. Now you can build something that's like, instead of spending those 12 hours figuring that out, you can build something that builds on top of that knowledge, and then ideally share that. And I think the more people can do that, the more, the better the stuff will ultimately be that comes from the community. But I think, LLMs, I think, are the key to doing that kind of thing, that if you can actually like unlock that knowledge and structure it in some way. So yeah, I've been slowly but surely trying to do that as well as a side project.
No, that's a tough one, but it's super helpful because more and more the focus is shifting. I'm noticing just, I've been I've been supporting the ComfyUI community for like 2 years, right? Like one thing I've noticed has been a massive shift from people Googling problems to people asking LLMs problems. So it's like, a lot of stuff that I still feel like you should probably Google because like, there's a level of truth versus hallucination, and error messages feels like something you should Google, whatever, but I'm also an old boomer. There's a whole new generation of kids that just ask GPT everything. So I think anything we can do, like I just saw a talk with John Maeda from Microsoft, and he said the thing that we need to focus on now is less than user experience, is agentic experience. Like AI is going to be crawling all this stuff that we're making, and we need to make it possible for the agents to crawl it better. So yes, we're designing for users, but ultimately we're designing for the users that will be using the agents to crawl our pages in the next few years. So it's an interesting shift in the way that we instead of just making like a wiki, now we're actually making like some sort of active library that you can talk to. But as I said, it's not my first impulse to ask a question to an LLM. My first impulse is to Google something, but I'm old. Like it's really cool to see the shift. And I'm super curious where things like Perplexity and stuff like that goes for this kind of stuff, because we can make it like our information more crawlable. Perplexity might be able to put this stuff together just because of the way we're presenting it and stuff like that. So yeah, it's super interesting shift to watch as someone who's seen a lot of shifts over my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I definitely use GPT as Google, not for everything, but for a lot.
But it's definitely shifting for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah. Does this look infected, GPT?
Yeah, you send it pictures. Yeah, it's like that's a large language model. I'm not really a doctor, but damn it, Jim, I'm a large language model, not a doctor.
The best thing in AI right now is, I don't think if you've seen the Gemini, it's like a free endpoint for 2.5 Pro Max. You can just like send 1 million tokens to it, and it's free if you use their web interface.
Oh, very cool.
But you can basically just do like a book worth of stuff to this, and it can like answer questions. You can download it like a whole repo and just like fire it, and it just gives you the answers. That they also use Google search. But it's like crazy what you can do. I gave it like Kajai's whole one repo today, and was like asking it like, how does he like attach the multiple base encodings, and how does that whole part work, and what are the quirks of it, and what are the ways to reduce strength? And it was like it kind of like understood the depth, how all that worked, and like, or felt like it did. Maybe it was bullshitting me.
Yeah.
But it's crazy the level of you can like touch the genius of when these dudes were just a tool, which is insane.
No, it's awesome.
How many times have you been gaslit by GPT? Because I've been gaslit a lot.
Yeah, it's
too much to tell.
Usually when coding, though, oh, it's a bug. It's got to be this, and you're like, no, dude, it's not that.
Oh
yeah, there's some things that I would never. It's interesting that there's one bug I had where I was doing like masking for something, and it was basically, the problem was that the underlying system was reading it in seconds, and I was assuming that it read it in frames, so I was getting the masking wrong every time. And I was like, I was asking GPT questions about it for such a long time, and I knew there was no world in which we would ever get that answer. And I think it's like, I think there's like ways in which humans are really stupid, and there's also ways in which, just because of how they think, they'll be really stupid. That is, it will be unique.
Yeah, they don't make the same contextual leaps and pattern recognition stuff that we do, but they do in other ways that we don't. So yeah, it's like anybody who says they're here to replace us is probably not using them correctly. Like I really think it's a back and forth, right? Like it feels to me like a collaborator more than a replacement for me.
Yeah.
One
thing that I've found is I've been coding with an LLM by my side for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years now. Every day I've been doing it. And if there's one thing it taught me, it's how to clearly and concisely convey my ideas.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, it was wild to see like, oh, you know what? Like, this is a me problem. This isn't the LLM being dumb. It's me not giving it enough context of what I want or how I want it, right? And it really like pushed me as a human to learn how to convey myself more clearly when giving instruction, basically.
Yeah, because it'll start stabbing wildly in the dark, and you're like, "Wait, why are you doing that?" It's like, "Oh, well, it's because I asked it a stupid question, or a not well formed question." Yeah, Yeah, like how could we handle this as opposed to I want to handle this like this and I
Yeah.
want to do this and this and this and like what's the best way of doing that. Like that's the other thing I find is asking it what the most efficient way to do something is before you even start like saves you so much trouble because half the time it'll just start doing something and you're like, are you storing all this data in a plain text file and just like retrieving it? It's like, yeah, of course. And you're just like, but why isn't it a database? Like you never asked. Like we can make it a database if you want. It's
Yeah,
like, yeah.
yeah.
Let's do that.
It's been so interesting because I've been building a bunch of stuff with Python, which I have like a good understanding of, and then doing like I don't even know what OpenMuse uses, React and something else, which I have no idea what's going on there, and it's insane how much. Like I know there's so much stupid things in there, whereas I know that the stuff I make with Python is usually like probably like fairly sensible, but it's like I think it's such a dangerous thing to be able to have like knowledge that you don't know how to use.
No,
Yeah. It can backfire.
Right on. Well, I actually forgot to cover the news before we started, so let's do that real quick. How do I?
That was a very intense week again. A lot of news.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happened. I've just made POM full screen. 1 sec. I'll fix this. There we go. All right, cool. Also, we are just little people in the corner. Can I make us not in the corner? Oh, I give up now.
Mm-hmm. We're at the
Here we
bottom.
go. Now we're little. Okay, cool. Yeah, everybody. Flux.1 Kontext came out.
Ooh,
It's freaking bonkers.
it is.
So, what's the best way to describe it? Yeah, so you can load an image into it, edit the image, do precise object modification, character consistent multi-step editing, style preservation and style transfer, text editing inside the image, composition control, framing, camera control, and pose, ultra fast inference. So yeah, right now it's set up through the API nodes in Comfy, but you can, I believe they are dropping a dev version very soon. Or rather, it says on their website they are. I don't know what soon means with BFL because I heard we were going to get a video model at one point, and that just kind of,
I have a feeling they're going to fucking destroy you with the video model. They have to.
I respect it though. Like the BFL team, they've set the precedent of like it's either the best or we're not doing it kind of thing.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way. Yeah, I like that.
And this model context is the best.
Yeah,
so
yeah. I'm just loading up my Comfy right now, and I'll spin up the context API nodes. We'll show you guys what it's like. It's so imagine 01 but without a yellow tinge. And without like a weird like digital display pixel.
You're doing it a disservice. It's so much better than 01.
No, I really am. It's really fun. It's really powerful, and we'll show you in just a minute how cool it is as soon as my Comfy loads up here.
You can ask it anything. Basically, it's like an LLM of a model kind of vibe.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Very fun to play with. I have some examples.
I'd say.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'd say it feels kind of like different in character to 01 because 01 feels like it's like it just doesn't care about what you sent to it and it's inventing something new that's like kind of related to it. Whereas this feels like very tied to what you sent to it. Like in this, it like understands where all the characters were. Whereas 01 would do the same image, but it would be, everyone would be different and they'd be in a different place and it could be really cool, but it just will be different in all this kind of like structural ways, and I think it's like, it's interesting how different it is in a way to 01.
AI Warper's here and says, and it doesn't force 3.3 to 2 ratio. And I fully agree with that. After trying to make a million YouTube thumbnails and having them be just a little too short. 16 by 9 would have been cool, but whatever. But check this out. It also doesn't
scold you.
What's that?
About random shit. It doesn't scold you and it's like, oh, we can't create this because for some secret reason,
we're not allowed to make pictures of Mark Zuckerberg. This is with Context Max. The original image is the distracted boyfriend meme. You all know. I asked it to make the person in the red dress a dog, make the man in the blue shirt a cat, and make the woman in the blue shirt a bird. And it delivered. It absolutely delivered. So that's what this model is. But that's just the beginning of it. It is, basically an image editor plus way more style, all that stuff.
Yeah, you can do so much more.
So yeah, it's
So
probably
much
running
more. It's
now. So
crazy.
let's load up old Comfy.
I mean, let's just give a little funny example. Pers from when we were in the Upscale
Mhm.
conference. So Pers took a picture of the BFL booth, and they were not there yet. Pers sent a picture to one of the guys at BFL, and he sends back a picture of the screen with, like a presentation playing
He
of the
edited it.
BFL. And I say, did you just make that using context, like, which we didn't know the name at the time? And he's like, of course. And it was insanely perfect.
That's so
Yeah.
funny.
I love the German naming as well. It's like fuck you,
Yeah.
fuck you, North Americans.
So yeah, it's the Context Max is the highest quality one, and Context Pro is the lower quality one. Pro is 4 cents an image, and Max is 8 cents an image. So on the API, and as I said, they will be dropping a local model, so this is not forever. But right now, if you want to play with it, it's on API only. So the nodes have an image input, so you can feed it an image and then ask it to do stuff to it, and then these are the exposed variables we have access to: aspect ratio, guidance level, amount of steps. The seed, seed behavior, and then prompt upsampling, which just tries to clean up your prompt and make it better for the engine. So yeah, let's try some stuff. We'll try a picture of. Oh, that guy sucks.
Of a Pers.
So let's make. I'll just use a save image here. So in case you're wondering what I did there, I just pulled out of input image. I opened up a load image node. And then I pulled out from the back here and I saved image. So we're loading an image and we're saving an image. This is probably one of the most simple workflows you can do in Comfy. You're just processing one simple thing. So let's do a man flying in the air in an armchair, falling from the sky and screaming.
You have such a good imagination for prompts. You're wired different, man. I love it.
Yep.
Wow.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, we are.
The shirt too. Yeah, just like absolutely nailed the shirt.
Yeah, the shirt is.
It also maintains your chair.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, this model is special.
A man being crowd surfed at a busy concert in his recliner. It's really fast too. Well, not being crowd surfed, but I'm really not enjoying myself at the party. Do I still have the picture of the? Maybe it's on my desktop. There we go. All right, what are we doing to the distracted boyfriend?
Oh man.
Turn the woman in the red dress into a delicious spit of shawarma, chicken shawarma.
King of prompts.
Oh my god. This
How do you spell
backfire.
shawarma? Oh, actually, you're right.
Okay.
This could absolutely backfire. A delicious plate of sushi.
There you go.
Yeah,
Safer.
meat's never great with diffusion. Yeah.
Oh, there's a question here.
Oh.
What effect do steps and guidance have on this? Oh,
Just
interesting.
turn the whole thing. Let's try another one.
Yeah.
How does the multi-image reference work? We don't have that yet, I don't think.
Yeah,
we go.
it's a hack.
There we go.
Oh my god.
So
I mean,
me in Japan.
For the guidance steps and for the steps and the guidance, I mean, it's exactly what you guys are already expecting with like the normal Flux model, and obviously the same here. Steps is inference steps, and then guidance is like, it's probably a guidance distilled model, so it's probably a fake guidance that's doing some fancy math in the back to push the prompt towards your image better.
Yeah. Also, Peter asked if that's the maximum image size. It is for this API implementation, but I have a feeling once we have the model in the public, upscaling all this tile, we'll be able to really play with it and see what it's capable of. With most of these API drops, we're kind of limited to whatever the company lets us do with their API, right? So until the models drop, who knows? Maybe this is the maximum it does, but I have a feeling like everything else, Flux, if we just play with it a bit, it'll be very play withable.
Play with the
Yeah. Who's this guy? What do you call him? Who was doing these kind of like things with O1, where he was doing these kind of like deform-esque things, but with O1 where it like changes the image each time. And I feel like that was shipped with O1 because it just like went all yellow and just became mush. But I actually feel like doing like a deform-esque thing with this could be so cool because it feels like it's just flexible enough that it actually could work.
Yeah, it'll be super interesting to see what people make. Okay.
Yeah, chaining this model together is really where I think it gets ridiculous. It becomes like a Ruby Goldberg machine of micro edits the whole way down as you pass the image through and through.
Yeah.
This is that whole thing where they actually all look like
except we lost this girl, and I guess it is her. She's just wearing the same dress.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anybody in the chat wants to drop a prompt to try this out, please do so. We'll give it a crack. So yeah, that's Flux.1 Kontext that dropped. What else came out? Phil wrapped Chatterbox for Comfy. Phil, you can talk about Chatterbox, but man, is it cool too?
Yeah. Let me. Do we? If I share yours, do we have audio?
If you share the tab, you can send audio. Yeah.
Okay.
So you have to share the tab for Comfy or whatever you're going to play in.
Yeah. Let's see. Window.
I'll drop the link for Chatterbox here for y'all. Chatterbox is a lightweight voice model that does text to voice and voice cloning. Super lightweight. Phil wrapped it so you can play with it in Comfy today if you want.
It has a little bit of a weird install process. Anyone who's on local, it's kind of convoluted. I'm working on it. It utilizes the Chatterbox library, so I have all the information there in the GitHub repo itself. But definitely just like reach out to me if you actually just like want to walk through. But I'm actively working on it. But yeah, I mean, this model is pretty crazy. It's got two modalities. It's got TTS, text to speech, or VC, which is voice cloning. And the only input it takes really for the audio modality or timbre is an audio file. And so let me see here. I think it's this one.
No, like I actually.
You guys can hear that?
Heard it.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So this is the sample that we're going to use.
No, like I actually heard it. Our offices share a wall.
And pretty simple. It's got a unique kind of voice sound to it. And we can basically write whatever we want in here. And what I love about this model is it's extremely lightweight. The nodes themselves auto-download into your Hugging Face cache of your machine. It's super fast on inference. Again, I am working on like consistent model loading, but you can see it's already done. And yeah, let's take a look at the result.
ComfyUI is awesome. I love building complex workflows.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
crazy.
Here's a back-to-back again.
No, like I actually heard it. ComfyUI is awesome.
It's crazy, right? It's really good.
Yeah, it's too good.
Super good. And then, so the second one, actually, before we move on, we have a few kind of fun parameters here, right? We have CFG weight, which kind of does what you expect. There is like a sweet spot, but like mainly like these 3 parameters will change like expression, like in this case exaggeration. CFG weight and temperature kind of get like play with the speed and like the cadence in which the person speaks, but like the exaggeration is really fun. So if I just play this one back so it's fresh on the mind.
ComfyUI is awesome. I love building complex workflows.
Now I'm just going to bump the exaggeration up to 1. Everything's the same. I believe this model has a limitation of 40 seconds as it stands. So keep that in mind. You can't process like 20-minute clips or 10-minute clips or etc. But this is with the exaggeration higher.
ComfyUI is awesome.
And
I love building complex workflows. ComfyUI.
Are you running that in the 4090, Phil, or what's your hardware?
Right now I'm on an A6000, so it's actually slower.
Ooh, an A6000. Ooh.
I have so many gigabytes. But honestly,
because I was like doing the math on 11 Labs. This was on an earlier model, and it was like something like 30 times more expensive per second than their subscription plan. It was just like, how is that like why are people using it when you can just do the same thing for like 30 times cheaper?
Well, here's the thing too, man. Like the beautiful thing about this model, and which is why I like jumped on it so quickly, is because of how lightweight it is too. I can just toggle this on my node, and now it's going to run on CPU, and I'm just going to run the same thing. So it's a 4-second clip. You guys can't see the inference time on my machine, but it is inferencing right now, and let's see how long this takes. It's doing 8 iterations a second, and it's done. Now it's just bouncing into audio, and then here it is. So it does work on CPU too, and probably even more so on like the M series Mac. I haven't tested it on Mac, so don't hold me to that. It's a work in progress, but it's a really fun model if you get it installed and start playing with it. I was cloning my friends' voices who were over and making them say the darndest things. And for anyone who is interested, it does swear. There is no like, I can get it to say anything in the English language. I tried Japanese. It does not know Japanese at all. It tries to like.
What about French accent?
MJ, send me an audio clip right now. Let's go.
Oh God!
No, you have to. I want to hear your French accent.
We'll tweet it out later.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's basically Chatterbox. It's really simple and super lightweight and hella fun to play with.
Yeah, that's super cool. Right on. Well, that pretty much does it for our time today. Let me get over to the thingy here and pop us all into the chat. All right, cool. Well, thanks everybody for coming out. Thanks, POM. It's been really cool hanging out with you, and we'll have you back on to talk more about this kind of stuff because the history of this stuff is super fascinating, and I think it's important to preserve it because all this stuff will just get lost on Discords and become legends. So. Yeah, we were here for the beginning, and it's pretty cool. And if you're just joining AI now and you feel like you're joining at the end or something, you're not. We're just getting started. To cop a phrase from crypto, we are all so early.
You got a lot of love from the people in the chat.
Yeah.
I just wanted to tell you, like, a lot of people were saying hi, showing you out, and saying thanks for everything you do. So, and I share the same sentiment.
Yeah,
You're the man.
Yes,
we're also so active. Well, I think it's such an exciting time for open source. So I'm very very excited. Base in particular, UniPC as well. So
yeah, man. And again, like, that was the other thing I wanted to say about Banodoco before my brain shut off. That thing of how like I forget the phrase, but like a tide raises all boats. That's the Banodoco thing for real, because like I don't have time to investigate every single model all day long, but I do have time to skip through Banodoco. So if we all pool our resources and all work together, we can move at a rate similar to the closed source guys without their money. So the community has proven time and time again that we can stay neck and neck with the closed source models. And just as a point on that, and just how we're all talking about WAN right now, as far as I can tell, Phil and I were talking about this earlier, I think WAN 14b Vase is actually the best version of reference image and control that's even available anywhere, closed source or open source.
Yup.
VO3 is amazing. It does its thing, but it certainly can't take reference video and do exactly what you need to do. So
Can't in-paint.
so like, again, we talk about this a lot, but the thing is, like, with open source, you get full control of the stuff you're working with. And if that's important to you and you want to move on, open source is the move. If you want to just dip your toes in and learn how this stuff works, closed source is great too. And again, all tools do different things. Find something cool with closed source, use it. You find something cool with open source, use it.
Or
Have fun.
Or use them together now. You can with your API.
Good on everybody. Thanks a lot. We'll see you all on Tuesday. We're going to dive into some nerdy stuff. I don't know what, but we'll be back. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Nice.
Drive safe. And I have one thing for this. There we go. See you all next week. Stay safe, everybody.
Nice.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Yep.